4 years ago, we went on a family trip to Portugal, my daughter Lindsey, Sadie, and my wife Darlene. Shortly after we arrived in Portugal, Lindsey started to not feel well. And after about 2 or 3 weeks, her condition continued to worsen. So we decided that we were going to take her to a more specialized doctor, and he decided to run some blood work on her. And the doctor basically came back to us and asked us to immediately go to the hospital.
And then they put me and my dad into a separate room by ourselves and basically said, your daughter has leukemia.
It was the most surreal and scariest moment of my entire life. Being halfway around the world, being told that your daughter may die and that she needed to start chemotherapy right away. I was able to organize an air ambulance, and Lindsey and I flew back on an air ambulance to BC Children's Hospital to start her chemotherapy treatment. Her first initial treatment was 2.5 years, so she had about 1.5 years of intense chemotherapy followed by about a year of maintenance. 6 weeks later, Lindsey relapsed again, and that was in January 2010.
And when I relapsed, I was more mad because I just went through this and I finally got my life back. I finally got back to the things I loved, and I had to stop again. That's not something a teenage girl wants to hear.
I don't know what was worse, the first time hearing it and not knowing what to expect, or the second time hearing it and not only knowing what to expect, but to know how the outcome was going to be much more difficult this time.
Well, when I relapsed, it was much more severe. It was in my spinal fluid. They said that the best chances would be to do a bone marrow transplant. The transplant process was really, really hard.
The amount of drugs and radiation that she had to undergo, a lot of children don't make it through that.
I look back on pictures and I'm like, okay, how did I get through that? That was scary. How did my parents get through that?
I can't even start to tell you how important BC Children's Hospital has been, of course, in my family's life and in my daughter's life. I mean, it has saved Lindsey's life countless times.
It's somewhere that if you can't be home and you're sick, it's just the place you want to be. The nurses and the doctors and everyone who works there are just so nice and just so optimistic and so happy.
Everybody there took us in, and we were treated like part of the family. The nursing staff, the doctors treated Lindsey like their own daughter. You think about how you support CMN and how you support the hospital, never thinking you're actually going to need it. And one day, at your lowest point in your lowest time in your life, when we needed it the most, it was there for us.
I realized how much Dairy Queen does to help the hospital and how much the hospital appreciates it. Just the little things like going into the hospital with some blizzards just puts a smile on everybody's face. The kids, the nurses, everyone gets happy the second you walk in with something yummy.
We are so lucky to have such a wonderful association with a wonderful organization like CMN. The value that we place in our children's lives and in their health and their well-being. I mean, our hospitals throughout Canada and the US are there for us all the time. And when we can do this little bit to support our children's hospitals through CMN, it's a small part, but it's so important that they have our support to help them do the job that they do.